I close all my positions before 4 o'clock. I need my news feeds to be customizable. If I want Hindi news, I should be able to get that. If I want news in German, my whole feed should be German. I can do that with Godel. I can't do that with any other system. Godel's a it's a professional platform made by professionals. A lot of the other platforms out there, you can just tell they're not made by people that actually trade. I want something that's made for professional Wall Street people, not for retail, designed with retail in mind. I want the things that Wall Street uses to make decisions. That's why I use Godel. Don't treat me like a baby, I've got a lot of money and I want the best tool possible. Bloomberg won't even take my call. And I know that the other tools out there are just made for people with tiny amounts of money. If I'm a sophisticated investor, then I need sophisticated tools. Well, Bloomberg's $25,000 a year, and it has the same command line system as Godel. It's backwards compatible. But I don't want to pay $25,000 a year and lock myself in for 2 years. That's why I turned to Godel. It's a much better solution. I don't know why they named it Godel. It's some mathematician guy, I think. I don't really worry about all that. Probably some dorks from Jane Street. Bloomberg has the worst emotes. Bloomberg looks like it was made in 1983. Oh, wait. It was. Pascal's is my next company, probably. Or Euler. Or Galois. Or Legendre. Look at all these worthless companies. Most companies are worthless. That's the thing nobody gets. Laplace. Yeah, I was trying to figure out what a good bag holder costume would look like. Beyond Meat, Open Door, GameStop. You'd have to put in everything. A little bit of everything. Yeah, Bloomberg is a bit of a mess. Do they? I mean, they have docs, kind of. But yeah, the API is they don't want you to use the API. The API is like a demo for you to buy more API from them. And it's not even a big business for them. It's just let people use it. Yeah, it's a mess. We're going to make an API product at some point soon. But, to your point, I mean, if you're going to do it, you got to do it right. And yeah, I mean, we use APIs from a lot of the main players, and it's not a lot better anywhere else. I gotta say, it's not really designed for developers like in the modern kind of stack. It's sort of designed for the old enterprise kind of thing. A new philosophy of having always updated docs. You got developer relations. What they do in SF, they're not doing here in New York. That's an opportunity. What's INTS? I never heard of it. Yeah, they want to sell bQuant, which is, this, basically Jupyter Notebook thing. Not all quants use Jupyter Notebooks, by the way. And there are other issues, yeah. I mean, how do you get compute? I mean, it's another problem. You don't want Bloomberg provisioning your compute. Amycretin as the wonder drug for obesity? What? Who said that? Is that your opinion? That's your opinion, right? I think GLP is the wonder drug for obesity. I don't think anybody thinks semaglutide, baby. Tirzepatide. Yeah, Retatrutide, we'll have to see. I don't know much about inhibi. I know, but too much red meat is terrible for you, but not getting iron is terrible for you. What do I do? Amylin's been around a long time. Amylin's not that strong. There's a company called Amylin and a drug called Simlin. You might want to look into it. Obliterated. How am I supposed to do this calculus? Teacher, I can't do this calculus right now, man. Come on, man. I was kind of a bad student in high school just because I was upset with life. Bro, you're not black. Okay, yeah, I actually have come to terms with that. Then why speak Ebonics? Well, I don't know. Look, man, I'm from New York. We do things a little differently over here. Have you ever talked to a guy with a New York accent? And he's, it's why you talk like that? New York. Same thing. Guys in Boston talk differently too. We just all talk a little differently, all right? Just Albanian at the end of the day. Yeah, it's not somebody's natural voice. They adopt that voice for whatever reason. Guys in jail the same way. Take on these crazy tones that's not your natural voice, but you've adopted a character. And part of my job on stream here is to adopt a character so that you are entertained and you pay me money. Understand? Good. How do people in San Francisco talk? Well, that's an orthogonal point of view. It's not clear that it's relevant to the discussion at hand. this conversation hasn't found PMF yet. And I'm going to have to get back to you. Yeah, I was going to do some stand-up. I actually rented out Webster Hall, which is like a mid-sized event space here in New York. I was going to sell tickets. It was going to be more like not like a comedy thing really, but like, just a show basically. It's like Jordan Peterson goes on tour. I can go on tour. Webster Hall like shut down first they rented it to me and then they're like, yeah, no, we can't do this. We're going to refund you this. We're getting a lot of complaints already. Man, I get my comp sheet right. Comp sheet stands for comparables. Now you know. Okay, so Walmart really is 37 times earnings. Walmart's not growing, bro. What market is this? What market are we in that Walmart's 37 times? I feel like Joe Biden. Come on, man. Yeah, I don't know, man. Google's at 25 times and is growing. Walmart's at 37 times. It's not growing. If I'm going to buy something that's not growing, give me some Berkshire. Or give me some Berkshire Hathaway. Or like Taiwan Semi at 19 times. And Meta at 22 times. Meta's got, a decent strategy for AI, even if they're a little behind, I guess. The reason I like Amazon is Amazon's earnings are obscured. Like Amazon could be twice as profitable. So it's really trading at like 15 times and growing, but they hide, that was Bezos's move, man. They hide a lot of their earnings. Microsoft does that too. I think Amazon hides more. They spend money on things that they believe are good returns, but they double as earnings, extra spending, so they can reduce that spending when the time comes. Sometimes called earnings smoothing. Microsoft did a lot of this. You could smooth revenue too if you really wanted. I wouldn't suggest it. That's a fast ticket to jail. Yeah, I like Meta. You don't want to do too much earnings smoothing. How funny was Satya last night? Fleet of fungible GPUs. It's very important that our cloud fleet is fungible. And Microsoft takes the lead in fungible fleet GPUs. Yeah, something like 5-10% is good. You shouldn't lose sleep on it. If you're losing sleep on it, your position's too big. Meanwhile, 𝗕𝗵𝗘𝗅, 105 almost. Let's go. I'm voting for Mamdani, yes. That's right. Why wouldn't I? Allah Akbar! Allah Akbar! Not bad, guys. Not bad. I think AOC introduced him on the stage as comrade. Just like, excuse me? Comrade? My parents fled communist Albania to come here to New York, and now you're talking comrade? You're not being inclusive right now. You have to be inclusive. Even to terrorists, you have to be inclusive. If you're not inclusive, that's a problem. We're going to cancel you. And I know what I'm talking about, and you don't. Albanians are really people of color at the end of the day. How does Visa grow, man? Visa's got the only company with 98% gross margins, 70% operating margin. They don't even try to obscure earnings. How could they? They spend more on their audit. They spend running their service. It's like the greatest business ever. Yeah, they are power addicts. I agree. That's really a really good way to put it. And I think like next time I get to really give them a piece of my mind, that's what I'm going to mention, that like, you guys think I'm addicted to capitalism and wealth. Well, you guys are addicted to power. Like, you'll say whatever it takes to be in power. You just want to be in charge. Because you're some nerd in high school, never got to be in charge. So now you're like, no, I'm in charge. I'm out of here. We do need more monopolies. We actually don't have any monopolies. I don't know if you understand this, but like very few companies get to last that long. It's a very competitive world out there. Top today, gone tomorrow. The biggest company in the world didn't exist 20 years ago. What kind of monopoly is that? Literally the biggest, here are the biggest companies in the world. This one, let's see how old they are. 32 years old, 50 years old for Apple and Microsoft, 27 years old for Google, 31 years old for Amazon, 34 years old for Broadcom, only 21 years old for Meta, 22 years old for Tesla, 38 for Taiwan Semi. All these companies are brand new. 63 for Walmart, 60 for Berkshire, 67 for Visa. Visa's a monopoly, but Visa will, US Steel is almost went bankrupt. Certainly not a monopoly. Foreign companies beat them to shreds. JP Morgan, now JP Morgan's an interesting story because it only became a big bank recently. Eli Lilly, same thing, 150 years old, but only became a big pharma, the biggest pharma recently through competitive success, not through monopolism. Tencent, brand new company practically. Oracle, 50 years old. And these are founder-led. If it's within 50 years old and it's founder-led, you know, that means the boss who started it is just really good at capitalism. Netflix, 28 years old. MasterCard, 59 years old. Okay, here's the next one's 18 and 19th. Literally OpenAI. How could you be a monopoly when you just started your company? It's 10 years old. Literally 10 years old. 10 years old. Deutsche Bank was never the biggest bank. SpaceX, 23 years old. We just started the thing. Costco, 42 years old. Okay, Procter Gamble, 188 years old. Procter is a consumer products company. You could argue it's a monopoly. There's one out of these top 21 companies, I would say, is somewhat monopolistic. No, but the point is, monopolies theoretically are the most valuable companies. The most valuable companies is not a monopoly in sight. Okay, here's you know, one, Johnson & Johnson, but again, did not become a huge company until somewhat recently. SAP, relatively new company. Home Depot, relatively new. Abbott Labs, you know, been around forever. But again, never was really a gigantic company until they grew recently. Alibaba, you know, brand new company, basically, 26 years old. Coca-Cola, large successful company, but certainly not a monopoly. I mean, you can drink whatever soda you feel like. No luxury company is a monopoly, even though Hermes was founded 200 years ago. It ain't no monopoly. Now, United Health, that's somewhat monopolistic. Telecom companies are somewhat monopolistic in the sense that they're, you know, they have key infrastructure. Palantir, you know, practically brand new. Samsung, again, family-led. LVMH, not a monopoly. You don't have to drink Hennessy. Novo Nordisk, you know, had, you know, I wouldn't say monopoly in insulin, but, you know, they had a strong position in insulin for a long time. How about 𝗕𝗏𝗏𝗄𝗏? I think it's almost brand new company. Okay, Philip Morris, bit of a monopoly. But, you know, tobacco's not actually hard to grow, but, you know, a bit of a monopoly. ASML, brand new company. Salesforce, brand new company. Nestle, old company. Bit of a monopoly there. I'll hand it to them. Toyota, unbelievably successful company. Not a new company, but the best car company, you know, in many ways, in terms of their operating. Roche, old company, but only successful recently thanks to their brilliant acquisition of Genentech. I think, you know, you're not wrong about the tobacco companies, but in a lot of ways, I mean, I guess you can't start a new tobacco company. So that sort of becomes a de facto monopoly. And then again, the telecom companies are kind of have to be monopolies in a way. But yeah, nothing where you have a big consumer choice like McDonald's isn't a monopoly. You don't have to eat at McDonald's. Cisco, like, still relatively new company. Here's a good one, actually, L'Oreal. In a lot of ways, L'Oreal is a monopoly. You don't have to use their makeup, but women have to use some makeup. At least that's sort of the civilization standards. And, you know, there really aren't too many makeup companies, and they buy a lot of other makeup companies. IBM has changed their business so many times, it's hard to call them a monopoly. Lindy is a complicated story, so you could argue. Reliance, GE, very tough one to parse there. Merck, certainly not a monopoly because it was founded, US Merck was founded relatively recently. The original Merck was founded, you know, a long time ago. So you could argue that. Certainly not, no drug company is a monopoly. You're only as good as your last drug you make. AT&T is probably the one true monopoly that ever existed if you had to pick one. Yeah, some of these companies are brand new. ServiceNow is as valuable as American Express. Think about how crazy that is. Yeah, I don't have energy companies in here. Obviously, some of the energy companies have monopolistic features for sure. But I think the illustration here is that, innovation seems to be more important than anything. Verizon, was sort of original AT&T, so you actually can put down a lot of companies as coming from the original AT&T. But even Intel, Deutsche was probably founded well before that. And Goldman didn't become a major player until, well, it's a long story. Intuit was also founder-led for a long time. Goldman basically, Mr. Goldman and Mr. Sachs actually failed the company until 1930. It was kind of bought out by Sidney Weinberg, I believe. Well, USPS is a government company. It's not a monopoly. It's literally government service. It's not a corporation, really. Xiaomi is super impressive. Xiaomi's 15 years old. It's the youngest company on this list. Actually, OpenAI at 10 years old. The average age of these companies is 83 years old. But Xiaomi and OpenAI, 10 and 15 years old. Well, they made themselves into monopoly in many ways. Uber just 16 years old. Raytheon, that's kind of a monopoly. Raytheon, Boeing, guys like that. Disney, in a lot of ways, is monopolistic. Yeah, Xiaomi, very impressive company. But it's also kind of what happens when the CCP is helping you out. Palantir, super young, yeah. BYD, pretty young company itself. But, most of the really valuable companies, they're pretty much brand new. Yeah, exactly. There's always new upstarts that want to come in and hand the old company, a nice dose of competition. Yeah, Epic is a good one. Private company, obviously, but yeah. S&P Global, 160 years old. I think you could probably put them in that category a bit, but, they compete very, very tough competition. Yeah, there's some old companies, like the older, Bayer is one of the oldest companies in the world, and it's not too high on the list. So age doesn't always help you. This is a crazy one. Contemporary Empirics, 14 years old. That's called cattle sometimes, the battery company. And then Pinduoduo, I think one of the youngest here, just 10 years old. Pinduoduo worth 140 billion. Average great company was founded in 1948. This is the top almost 100 companies. I'm just short quantum is most of my portfolio. Then I like Spruce, Cassava. Not Cassava. Sarepta, Abivax, Capricorn short. It's Lena Constrat right there. I don't know, Randy. Worse from what perspective? Technology-wise, I'd probably agree. But D-Wave's pretty bad, man. I'd almost rather take QUBT starting from scratch than what D-Wave has. D-Wave probably will buy a gate-based computing company. That might be a one way their stock can rally. Yeah, Abivax might be starting to get up there, right? I'm not sure on Summit, man. Summit's a really hard one. It's probably priced appropriately. I'll leave it at that. Yeah, D-Wave's commercialization's not going so good. Yeah, I wouldn't say it's a really early stage. It's actually quite late stage. It's just not well known and might take some time for people to realize the value. You can't force the stock market to do your bidding. You got to be patient. But some of you're not going to make it. For real. I can be patient. I'm not going anywhere. There's no sector that's good to invest in. That never makes sense to me, and it shouldn't make sense to you. Thematic investing is for idiots. Because in the end, the trend goes away, then you're left with something. Do you want to own that something or not? You can't know when the trend's going to start or stop either. All right, look at JP Morgan. SPY down 70 bips, quantum mixed. More figuratively, I'm shorting lays. I'm reducing some other positions, shorting some lays. It's a little rotation. Oh, no big deal. Maybe I'll buy some Rigetti puts too. I do both. I buy puts and I short. Why'd you say instead? Why would you say that? You can't see my portfolio. Why would you say instead? So weird. I didn't look at, I don't know what INTS even is. I will fear no evil, for you are with me. Your margin and your cash, they comfort me. He restores my buying power. The bank, the prime is my bank. I shall not want. They make me cover my shorts. They lead me to ruin. They restore my buying power. They guide me through the path of short selling for the sake of JP Morgan. And even though I walk through the valley of the shadow of shorts, I will fear no quantum, for Jamie is with me. Your loans and your cash, they comfort me. Amazon's out. Trading up at first blush here. Revenue expectations are 1779. Barely beat with 180. I will take it. AWS re-accelerating. Guidance 206 to 213. Yeah, it just brackets the street. Numbers aren't that good. Earnings have been tough to nail down. But yeah, I guess maybe, you know, there's a fear for Amazon to do worse. And, you know, it's pretty cheap going in. Gilead is out. No, I wouldn't short Amazon. I thought it was one of the better Mag 7s earlier, if you missed that. Yeah, Amazon's going to cut costs. I don't know much about Reddit. Last I looked, it looked fine. I mean, actually looked like a long, if I recall. That is wild, Chris. I wonder if it's because they started small and grew? I have to kick them out from IWM into another index. 585 for Reddit.
A P-top business news at
Street was at
4:03 p.m.
549.
EDT.
Big beat, but probably expected. Next quarter, modestly above. Yeah, good numbers from Reddit. You know, it's very
Asian business headlines at 8:04 p.m. GMT.
Go crazy or not. Amazon coming in a little bit. Reddit now down.
Bloomberg News.
Millennium raising $5 billion to do privates. Wow. Reddit now down 3%. The guidance was good. Beat was good, but you know, high expectations there for Reddit at $200.
Semiconductor firm Monolith.
Amazon coming in a little bit more now, only up 5%. Reddit now down 7 or 8%. Probably an overreaction, but again, given the priciness of Reddit, maybe not. Netflix doing a 10 for 1. Some people are saying Quantum was a pod blowing up. Someone maybe was short D-Wave and jumped in there. Reddit now down 12%. High expectation stock you can beat and raise and still have problems. Spruce is not doing an offering, to be clear. That is a shelf, not an offering. 300 million offering is bigger than their entire
They first Q3 net
market
loss
cap.
widens on restructuring charges.
What are you talking about? Reddit is down 12% today. It's down 5% after hours and it was down 7% earlier. Yeah, they're not raising money. I mean, it's just a shelf filing. So they can raise money some other day. You're not losing money, but I think you should honestly quit investing. It's just not for you. Clearly something you're probably not gonna be
Monolithic
good at.
Q3 earnings snap.
I mean, it's good to have the shelf out there. I mean, if you get FDA approval and you want to tap it, it's good to have it. And I think you can still take down more of it. I mean, they just raised, so they're not raising again.